Good day everyone, I am Michael, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is Pharmaceutical Compressed Air, Quality, GMP, Standards and Requirements. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, Roger Cowan. Roger Cowan is the founder and owner of R. Cowan Consulting Service LLC. He has 35 years of experience in pharmaceutical quality assurance and manufacturing. Now I would like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Roger.
So let's start off with the quality rationale behind compressed air. So compressed air is often overlooked as a potential source of cleanroom and product contamination. Because of this, it's considered a critical utility in pharmaceuticals because many of its applications involve direct product contact. Now, when you're talking about a pharmaceutical quality compressed air system, it typically consists of a supply side and a distribution side. Supply side consists of a piece of equipment like compressors, aftercoolers, the air receiver storage tank, particulate filters, coalescing filters, and perhaps a desiccant air dryer. The distribution side of a system consists of the pipeline distribution as well as the various point of use filters. Now I've got three photographs up here. The first one on your left is a typical centrifugal oil-free air compressor used in pharmaceuticals. The middle diagram is a cutaway of a typical water-cooled aftercooler piece of equipment. The third photograph to your right is simply a picture of a typical air receiving vessel for the compressed air. On the supply side, the compressed air is treated for major contaminant reduction. Now I put together a bit of a schematic here of the entire system. Now let's have a quick look at regulatory requirements for compressed air. Now speaking of ISO 8573-1 came out in 2010. It's an important international standard that provides specs for a variety of compressed air purity classes. Now this table is taken right from ISO 8573-1. So each point of use in a pharmaceutical facility, what you do is you set a quality designation for each of those points of use. So let's move on to the three different types of contamination we find in compressed air. The first one is solid particulate contamination. Particulates found in compressed air, they come from the actual intake air, the ambient intake air. You'll have that in place, and that has a porosity of about 4 to 10 microns, 95% efficiency. I've got here photographs of a particulate air filter. The first one is that one that I talked about, the post-desiccator hydrophobic particulate air filter at 5 microns. Now, how do you test for solid particulate? Well, non-viable particulate testing is performed by what you do is you attach a laser particle counter to a suitable access point on your distribution system. Here's a photograph of one of these laser particulate counters. You know how to test the solid particulates. What are the specifications that are out there for compressed air? Okay, so that was solid particulate. The next form of contamination for compressed air is water. So to understand water content in compressed air, you need to know a little physics here. Dalton's law. You can measure, therefore, the water vapor concentration of an air sample by passing your air sample over a temperature-controlled surface. Why is the dew point of compressed air important, particularly in the pharmaceutical industry? So having said that, how do you remove water content and moisture from compressed air? So here's a photograph of a typical heated desiccant twin tower compressed air dryer. Now, how do you measure the dew point of your compressed air? Left-hand photograph is a fixed mount dew point measure, and you can see it has a nice real-time display of the dew point. On the right-hand side, I've just got a picture of the portable dew point instrument with the sensor probe. Now, specifications for water content. Okay, so the third major contaminant in compressed air is total oil. What are the sources of oil or hydrocarbon? It may be present in compressed air in the form of oil vapor, aerosol, or liquid. Well, typically you might incorporate a pair of coalescing filters downstream of the compressor. These photographs show this. The one on the left is simply the housing for the coalescing filter. The one on the right is a cutaway of a coalescing filter. Now, I mentioned an activated carbon filter. Now, what are the specifications for total oil? How do you measure total oil? It's measured using a hydrocarbon-specific, what's called a Draeger tube. On the left-hand side, I've got a photograph of the older hydrocarbon Drager tube system. You can see the glass tube there with the color code designations for the concentration of hydrocarbons in that compressed air. So that's really the fourth major contamination of compressed air, and that's bioburden. So as previously mentioned, when you get the combination of warm compressed air as well as the presence of water condensate, because maybe you've exceeded the dew point, that provides the ideal environment for microbial growth in your distribution system. Now that bioburden can subsequently contaminate both the environment of the clean room and also the manufactured product. How do you do that? You use typically a slit-to-air or STA bioburden measurement system. Here's a picture of an STA. What are the regulations and specs surrounding bioburden in compressed air? How do you remove bioburden? Well, for aseptic operations, now these are photographs of the hydrophobic filtered cartridges. I often get asked what should be your frequency for monitoring all the different contaminants in compressed air. So in conclusion, compressed air is a very powerful and useful utility. I hope I've shown you that it's critical to the overall high quality environment required by pharmaceuticals. Therefore, the design, the maintenance, and the routine testing of the facility's compressed air system to the appropriate standard, it is important in assuring the high quality of the compressed air, the equipment, and ultimately, and most importantly, the finished pharmaceutical product.
First off, I'd like to thank everybody for listening. I know there's a lot of detail in this webinar. Hopefully each and every one of you can find some nuggets of information that you can use within your own facility for your compressed air. So thanks very much for listening.
Once again, thank you so much, Roger, for the great presentations. And so that does conclude the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.